to the shit show.
Yes, it's another week, Tom, of the All Elite Wrap-Up. It is June 20th, 2024. Dynamite was last night. If you are catching us not live on the YouTube, if you're not catching us live on the YouTube, you're missing out. Who knows what you might see during a live stream of the All Elite Wrap-Up. It's a special treat. So says Andrew Openshaw here in the chat, who says, "Let's go, fellow sickos. Finally made it back for another live episode. We love that you're here. We hope that you will chime in and talk to us while we have this show go on, right? We like to talk to the fans. We'll talk to some folks who sent in some email submissions. More on that later. But, Tom, how are you?
Dude, I'm great. I'm doing really well. We're in the middle of the summer. I got some vacation planned. I will be leaving this Saturday for Cincinnati. Nephew is playing on a traveling baseball team, so they have a tournament in Cincinnati. And since my wife and I are trying to go to all the baseball stadiums, and no offense to anyone listening from Cincinnati, but I don't know what there is to do in that city. So we figured might as well tag team a trip to see the nephew play some baseball and a stadium into one. So we're going to go see the Cincinnati Reds play the Pittsburgh Pirates. Duel between two of the most freakishly athletic humans on the face of this earth, between O'Neal Cruz and Ellie Dela Cruz. It's Ellie Dela Cruz and O'Neal Cruz, so it's not related, but when people say it out loud, they think they are, but it's different. O'Neal Cruz, Pittsburgh's shortstop, 6'7", down there getting grounders. 6'7", incredible. But yeah, so doing that tonight as we're recording, the Rickwood Field baseball game between the Cardinals and the San Francisco Giants is going down. I implore anyone that likes American history to educate themselves on the Rickwood Field. It is important. And yeah, doing that. What else am I doing? Willie Mays unfortunately passed away this past Tuesday. Been doing some deep dives on his career because the consensus is he's the greatest baseball player to ever live. Now you could say Shohei Ohtani, there's other arguments, but as far as a five-tool player, he is the best of all time. And Tim, I'll tell you a quick Willie Mays stat before we move on that I think is just astonishing. So at the time of his retirement, Willie Mays joined 91 other baseball players in the history of baseball to have at least 300 career stolen bases. The other 90 had no more than 120 home runs in their career. So no one in that other 90 group. Willie Mays had 660. So that tells you how fucking good he is. So anyhow,
he was good.
He was awesome. The fucking catch over his. And here's the other thing. Side note. This is, again, part of the American history that I think people don't realize. He finished with 660 home runs. 2 years he missed, though, because he was serving in the Korean War. I think people don't realize that when they look at these stats. Like Ted Williams missed 5 years of his playing career because he was in the military. It's like these motherfuckers were probably actually way better than just their all-time top 10 stats. But I digress. Wrestling, man. That's what we're here to talk about.
We are here to talk about wrestling. I'm excited to talk about wrestling because AEW Dynamite is hitting, man. And the Collision and the Rampage, those are happening too. But Dynamite and all of their PLEs, pay-per-views, whatever you're going to call them, I feel are on hot streak right now. I feel like we haven't
What the fuck is a PLE?
Yeah, what is it? Yeah, it was awesome. So I'm excited to just dive into that, right? We have the Forbidden Door coming up in a couple of weeks, so they're really starting to hammer in some of these storylines.
Mm-hmm. Come on, so let's.
But before we do that, we got to talk to the fans. We got to talk to the fans and the community, if you will, our friends. It's not just fans; it's friends. Like I said, if you're here in the chat live with us, you can jump in, right? Andrew Openshaw is doing it. Fuck your mama 2 times is in the chat. you can just jump in there, chat along live with us. You can also find us on the threads, all _elite_ wrap up. Remember those underscores. I can't underscore that enough. Tom, see what I did there? Tom, live threads, right? On the threads right there. He's out there saying hi and just commenting on the shows, and it's a blast. There's a large community of folks doing that, so we like to see some crossover there. Come join us, chat along there, and then you can always email us at it's aewrapup@gmail.com, and you can send us, type out an email, send us an audio clip or video clip, and we'll play it here. And we've got 2 of those this week, Tom. Two of those record setting 2 for this show, so I'm excited.
Anything can set a record. It just depends on how you categorize it. So
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. So let's just jump into, let's start with the tried and true, right? Let's relax. Let's get you ready for this. We have our senior European correspondent is back after a brief hiatus, and he's ready to chime in.
Senior European correspondent in the building. Sorry for the absence, boys. Granted, you did 2 of the shows on Wednesday before I had a chance to watch Dynamite and get in it, but whatever, it doesn't matter. My apologies for my delay. I'm back. I've missed you. I hope you've missed me. Of course you have. Anyway, right, I'm watching Dynamite as we speak. MJF is wrestling some geezer that I've never heard of at Forbidden Door, which is whatever, that's fine. Little confused here is because 2 people should have big beef with MJF. First things first, Juice Robinson. The last time we saw Juice before his return, MJF took him out in kayfabe, obviously. So surely you should have some sort of axe to grind with him. We haven't gotten to that point yet. We haven't mentioned that at all. Also, Wardlow. Wardlow came back before he joined whatever the fuck their faction is, the shit one, with MJF on his wrist. He wants to get revenge on MJF. Where has he been? He hasn't even been on TV since MJF's been back. What's going on? Surely continuity should be a thing here. In kayfabe, that should be the problem here. Obviously, there's going to be unforeseen circumstances. That's where this is wrestling, but can we not get a mention? Can we not just pretend that this doesn't exist? You know what I mean? That'd be nice. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well as well, so that's great. And I got a question for you guys. Who are the current reigning and defending NFL Super Bowl champions? Because I need to be reminded. I need some help with that. Anyways, peace out, boys.
Yeah, lest you forgot, that is the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The Kansas City Chiefs. They are the reigning two-time defending NFL champions, second of 3 years in a row. Go figure. So it'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see this year. Everybody can enjoy that. He's right though about this MJF thing. MJF's back. He's, everybody's happy. He's a face. He calls out some names, but there are people who were like, the moment I see MJF, I'm murdering this dude. Wardlow is one, and we don't hear that. Roosh came out to battle him before these guys showed up.
Well, no, because Wardlow, again, let's stay in story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wardlow stood over MJF, so he did get his fuck this guy, right? They took the title from him because Adam Cole couldn't find the thing, and then that cost him the championship. And then they beat the fuck out of him and stood over him. So if anything, it's interesting that MJF is not addressing Roderick Strong, the tag team, and Wardlow. Now, he somewhat addressed Adam Cole by saying, get this trash out of my ring, because when he returned at the last pay-per-view, he takes out Adam Cole with a low blow and then throws him out. And that was essentially like, we're done with that. Now, I think we do need to tie up some loose ends by saying the other guys also need to be kicked to the curb. But I feel like that portion, Undisputed Kingdom, is taken care of, right? The Juice Robinson thing, yeah, I agree, right? Because he did get taken out by MJF, but it would be weird for the third most important guy in his faction to then go after MJF.
Andrew Openshaw here says Juice is 1/4 of the Undisputed Trios champs. Why would he give a fuck about MJF? Yeah, he's 1/4 of the Trios champs.
Yeah, and also if you think about it, again, let's just stay in this world. So you get taken out by a competitor. But by the time you're healthy, your friends are champions. So your mindset might be completely different, right? Your mindset's like, hey, we're winning. Man, I got a win bonus this week. Life isn't that bad. Now, if you were to come back, say they're not champs, and MJF is thriving and becoming a champ again, then you might say, hey, fuck that guy. But you might just put a pin in that and say, I'll get to you down the road. That's how
Yeah.
I see it. I think, and we'll talk about MJF because he kicks off AEW Dynamite last night. But my thing with MJF is kind of like the reverse of Mercedes Monet. And this is not to say he's a bad wrestler. I think he's a fantastic wrestler. But his best attribute is his promo.
Yeah.
And we're getting him just running down. Again, I will say, just kind of
Yeah.
putting this out there. He doesn't look the most presentable, right? His hair looks a little weird. The tan still looks horrible. He doesn't have the scarf.
It is interesting how he manages to be orange and gray at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like your lighting.
Yeah. Right. There's no orange. That's the problem. We're missing the orange tonight. We don't know what's going on with it.
But yeah, I kind of feel like, well, I don't know with MJF. I think also, well, we'll get into MJF talk when we get to him. But yes, I understand what he's saying. However, I do think that we need to like start, certain things kind of going in order.
I agree. It just, he was never the house cleaning, ass kicker, right? It was never, as soon as MJF shows up, he's throwing motherfuckers out of the ring. So that response of like music hits and we go, we're not doing the Brock Lesnar pop here. Right. For MJF. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's always good to hear from the senior European correspondent. That's true. We didn't alert him to the fact that we would be doing things a day early. Plus, we know you Europeans are always on holiday, right? Like you guys are always. There's 40 of those things every month, right? So back to something. Fuck your mama 2 times in the chat. And that's good that he's in the chat because he is also on the show right here. He also sent us a call. Did Fuck Yo Mama 2 times. And I'm excited for this one, Tom. This is a first time call from Fuck Yo Mama 2 times. You ready for this?
Come on.
What up, boys? It's Mr. Fuck Yo Mama 2 times. First time, long time. And I'm posing the question to y'all. It's not really wrestling related, but I mean, it has a wrestling tie in. On NXT, Cody was asked, are you coming to the cookout? Now, if I invite y'all to the cookout, what are y'all bringing?
Weed?
Napkins? Ice?
Yeah. Uh-huh. We've been led to believe that, and from my own personal experience, if we go to the cookout, as it were, the white people food isn't trusted immediately, right? Like you got to be known to the community of the cookout that you're going to before they're going to trust some food we're bringing, if that's what you're discussing. So I might, if I were to do something like that, I would stick to something like I'm making some brownies maybe, right? Like I'm going to do that, right? But I'm not bringing like a dish, right? Because they don't want it. They don't want it. Well, they want our company, I think, but not our food, it seems like.
So I got kind of experience with this. So I think I've said this on the podcast before, but my biological grandfather died when I was an infant. A few years later, handful of years later, my grandmother remarried a black gentleman. So my childhood, for going back, I don't remember my biological grandfather. All I know is my grandpa Chuck. That was his name. He's passed away now recently too. But all I know is my grandpa Chuck and the black side of my family, right? I have a cousin Dante, for example. So like I have gone to many of cookouts. Now I will tell you the 2 things that always worked for me. One, I think it was just my grandma fucking figured it out. And so I kind of took it one time from her and it works ever since. Coleslaw. I make really, really good coleslaw that good like across all races enjoy. I brought it to Mexican cookouts. I brought it to black cookouts. I brought it to white cookouts. All of them love the coleslaw. And my dad helped me with this one because it was his favorite drink. So I've had plenty of chances to make it. But Jack and Coke, I practiced this fucking drink since I was like 5 years old. I make a great Jack and Coke.
Yeah.
So
yes.
there is where I would
Yeah.
bring
Oh
those
yeah.
two
Bring
items.
some alcohol is always a good thing. Mixing up some drinks is a good thing. I mean, I make some decent dishes and stuff like that. But yeah, if it's first invite to the cookout, I mean, I'm not, unless they're like, people need to bring food, right? Like,
I'm doing Jack and Coke. Yeah.
Like
I'm doing Jack and Coke. And if they say it's a family thing, then I'm going to take my chance on the coleslaw.
So I got invited to a cookout one time. I've told this story to you, I think, but fuck your mom 2 times. You might like this one. So, boy Vic, he says, "Hey, come on over, having the cookout, right?" And just for storytelling purposes, so you can kind of track along, Vic was a black man, right? He says, "Come to the cookout." And I was like, "All right, bring him my wife." And he gives me, we're on base, he gives me the apartment number with like it's like a 4-digit number and a letter, right? So for sake of argument, 1230A, right? I'm like, all right, got it. I'll be there, right? I'll be there. We show up. A black lady opens the door. Now, I've never met Vic's wife. So I'm like, "Hey, we're here for the cookout." And she's like, "Oh yeah, you're with the you're with the shop?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Come on in." And we're like, "Great." And we like are bringing some stuff in, and we sat down. I'm looking around, and there's a whole bunch of people in there. I don't recognize any of them, right? And I'm kind of looking around. I'm like, well, I mean, he didn't tell me who was coming to the cookout, right? And so I'm like, all right. So I'm standing there for a second, and the lady who let us in goes and starts talking to somebody outside. It's definitely not Vic, right? And he's looking over at me, and she's like talking in his ear, and he comes in, and he was like, "Hey." And I said, "Hey." And he goes, "Can we help you guys?" Or something. And I was like, "Am I at the wrong place?" And he was like, "Yeah." Now, I went to 1230A or whatever. What the deal is I transposed some numbers, right? And like I went to the wrong spot. Like I remembered the letters and numbers wrong. But they also happened to be having a goddamn cookout at the time. And they just let me in. And he was like, "I mean, we got food if y'all want to hang out and stick around." I was like, "No, we actually have some place to go. I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm not jumping in right now."
Yeah.
I was like, interesting. This is fun. And so I show up at Vic's and we're the first ones there. And he was like, now we're late at this point, right? I was like, "Oh man, sorry, we're late. We actually went to the wrong fucking cookout over here, crossed the goddamn base over here." And I was like, "Where's everybody at?" And he was like, "Everybody's late." And he's like, "Honestly, I thought y'all people would have showed up." And I was like, What do you mean y'all people would have showed up?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. It never, the cookout, man, I'm bringing, like you said, I think what Fuck Your Mama said sometime, he said, bring weed is the correct answer. Bring party favors, right? Bring party favors, and let's just get down and have a blast, right? Let's all have a blast.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Another great way that I have won over people of all races, but of like, for example, and I've said this many times, I lived in Atlanta. They didn't give you dorms. They gave you apartments. So you lived with 2 other people.
Yep.
I lived with a pimp. His name was Angel. And I lived with a football player. His name was CT. This was, again, at the time, it was 2005. So put your brain into 2005, not 2024. Okay. So what happened was there's the CD player, right? I put on Graduation, Kanye West Graduation, and everyone goes, "Who has this?" I'm like, "I do." They're like, "You have this?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
"Where are you from?" I said, "Kansas City." "Tech Nine?" I go, "Yeah." "Huh? You got Tech Nine?" And yeah, of course. It's like
right.
It's like eating barbecue. If you're from Kansas City, you've ate barbecue and you have some Tech Nine music. So I was like, "Yeah, here you go."
Yeah.
And they're like, "This is the shit." And I won them over on the first night. And then 2 nights later is the story I always tell. 2:00 in the morning, boom, boom, boom. Half naked woman hands me $1,200 in cash, says, "Give that to Angel." Found out he's a pimp. Love that.
She says, "Give this to Angel." You give it to Angel. You did what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Well, and I was also half asleep. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" All right. So, yeah. Hey, so let's talk about AEW Dynamite. It took place at the Eagle Bank Arena in Fairfax, Virginia, the granddaddy of them all.
I've heard that.
Eagle Bank Arena. And it kicks off commercial free, which, side note, they didn't give parameters of how long that was going to be. So isn't kind of anything the first segment commercial free?
Yeah, as long as you don't cut If the first segment is commercial free, if you were not going to go to break during that match, then it was all commercial free.
Yeah, like my first segment is always commercial free because the first commercial is then, oh well,
It's the new segment. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I never understood
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah, if you want to
whatever,
say
I
like
get it.
special long first segment, no commercials or whatever, but
Well,
well,
for
then my
example,
question is, are we getting the same commercials or are you just squeezing them in later? Are we still getting the
right.
same amount of commercials?
Well, if you recall, when we went to our last AEW Dynamite show here in Kansas City, the first hour was commercial free. Remember, Christian
Right.
brought it about. So there's the parameters, right? You're telling me the first hour, but this was just
Well, also
commercial free.
Yeah, and even if we're honing in on it, right? If you're telling me it's commercial free, this match commercial free, well, the reason you would be hyping that up is like that means you're not going to miss anything big. But like, you guys haven't set it up to where big things happen during the commercial break, and I feel like, oops, I missed it, right? Like I got to catch this live, or I gotta, Now I know we have picture in picture, but
yeah, one of the first early times they did picture in picture, I recall that they had a pinfall during the picture in picture. I do remember
I mean?
that. They need to
Some
go
stuff
back
like
to
that.
that. Yeah, they do need to do that. But we kicked it off with a blow off match, a blood feud, MJF versus Rush. And as I mentioned, like this match, but for me, the money in MJF is the stories, and the stories more often than not from MJF are conveyed through promo. And so this was good. This was great. But because nothing really came about it, it was fine. What did you think?
Yeah, same thing. Match fine, hard hitting. We know both these guys really take their craft seriously, and they were out to put on a show, and they did. And we led up to a blow off. Right, this was supposed to be a big, meaty men slapping meat, if you will, and we got that. And then we got some brutality. Right, we got some blood, but kind of what you said. There wasn't a whole lot to this. Now, I think maybe this was the setup. We saw something later with Rush, and we'll talk about that, right? Maybe this is to kind of just help that transition, and it was a quick, easy fill, right? I think it did its job, right? Let's get MJF back. Let's establish him as like, I'm here, people are behind me, and let's fight.
Yeah, I think so. MJF wins the match for those of you who didn't watch. So MJF wins the match, but this is where, again, if you're going to say that this is commercial free, I'm expecting some payoff, right? Rush wins, or there's a new group for MJF, or Rush has a new group, or something, right? Because you're telling me this is important, this is important, this is important. And not to say that the match wasn't important. Obviously it was, but it didn't lead to the next thing. So MJF wins, but then Gates of Agony are like, hey, our homie from another promotion's going to fight you.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's
Demolition 2024 is going to fight you.
Well, here's my problem with Forbidden Door. It's starting to feel like the WWE version of Survivor Series, where we're doing stories, but then one time of the year, we've just got to fucking put all that to the side because it's interpromotional wrestling with
any
this
way to
person.
any way to mix companies, and let's cause a fight. And yes, I agree. I know.
Now, AEW doesn't do it as bad as WWE, but then after Forbidden Door, it's like, well, we just don't see Zack Sabre Jr. for 7 months or whatever it is. So I don't like it for that reason. For example, if I were to have booked this, for example, whatever MJF's going to do after Forbidden Door, let's assume it is Wardlow, right? For hypothetical purposes. This is where, because you told me it was commercial free, MJF gets in there and Wardlow gets in there and power bombs MJF 3 times, leaves him laying. See you at Forbidden Door because I don't have to do inter promotional matches. I'm fucking you up. Then, oh shit, the next time you tell me commercial free match, I'm expecting something wild to happen at the end or during or whatever it may be. So it is what it is. MJF is facing, oh, here it is. I got the name. Chiro. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Of course. All the time. Every single time.
Yeah.
I nail it.
Yeah.
Then after that match, we get an in-ring promo segment. It is our AEW World Champion, or this guy right there, Swerve Strickland, with Prince Nana. And he does a face-to-face with his challenger at Forbidden Door, Will Ospreay. Tim, what'd you think of this face-to-face, agreed upon, no physicality, I guess, promo battle, for lack of a better term?
Good. I think it captured kind of the hype behind both these guys, right? We've said, like, man, both these guys are on a heater. They both feel like the most popular guy in the place, right? Like, it's too much tension to put together, so then they just roll right into it, right? Just have them stare at each other and just be like, nah, I'm fucking better than you are. No, it's me. And, we threw in Swerve's making it personal, right? I like, he says, don't make it personal. And he's like, no, I want to make it personal, right? And then, I kind of forgot for a second that this was agreed upon no physicality, because I was like, why didn't he just fuck him up right then and there? All they did was bump chest, but that's right. That's because they're not supposed to, right? There's no physicality here. So, fine. I think we've hyped it to the best we can here, right? This isn't a long story. This is a quick one. I feel like, unless this turns into a rivalry of sorts, right? But I don't think this interaction here is meant for a long time.
I think we set up some ways to get out of this match. For example, Swerve Strickland brought up, hey, last time at Forbidden Door, it wasn't just you beating Kenny Omega. It was old Don Callis and your family. And and then Will Ospreay saying, I don't need that motherfucker. Fuck those guys. Like, I don't know. And then we go right back to showing them. And old Don Callis is like, it's fine. Because Trent kind of rolls up his sleeves and was like, are we going to beat this guy up right now? And he's like, it's fine. I know him better than his own mother, I think is what he said. So we've got one maybe potential out for how this match ends. I like that. Then we get into, like you said, the personal aspect, where I thought the line of the promo battle was Ospreay saying, when you had a hit row, I had a hit list.
Yes.
Thought that was pretty good. But Swerve Strickland making it personal didn't hit it all the way out of the park. I get it. You said his son's name, which I believe is his actual stepson, but regardless, if you identify as both that, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, sure.
But then he said something to the effect of, Ospreay, if you break your arm, who are you? If you break your leg, who are you? And Swerve Strickland was like, if I get hurt, I'm still a mogul. And then he said, like, podcaster, which, side note, no one should ever strive to be a podcaster. We've been doing this 12 years.
Yeah.
Don't strive to do this shit. Even if you got something successful, nah.
Yeah, it can't be, the return on investment can't be great no matter what you're making for this shit.
We'll learn from the Kelsey brothers. They're already taking other deals besides just living off of the podcast. So anyhow, that was just a side note. And yeah, Ospreay's like, don't make this personal. Then he walks out. And then, as you mentioned, Swerve Strickland says, what if I do want to make it personal? And when it comes to this belt, it's always personal. And Prince Nana kind of gets in between and says, hey, come on. And then they do the butting of heads and talk off the microphone. I've still never understood that. We spent 10 minutes, let's just say the segment was, talking into microphones. And then all of a sudden we were just like, let's actually just drop those and we'll just talk to each other. What? Why?
Yeah,
why now? Why now?
Why now do we have to?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyhow. So, yeah, then we go back to Don Callis and he says, it'll be fine. We shall see. Then we get an all-star 8-man tag match. And before we get into the match, we do a backstage interview segment with Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Dante Martin, and Kyle Riley. And Mark Briscoe does another one of these great whirly bird, I'm kind of crazy promos that gets everyone hyped up. Kyle Riley's really worked up. Yeah, but Kyle Riley's he's 2 words of the day. Kyle Riley's getting really worked up. Kind of at the apex of this promo that Mark Briscoe's cutting, Jack Perry walks by. Jack Perry just kind of looks at him and then walks off. And then Mark Briscoe says, Jack Perry, get your ass out of here.
Yeah. Get your ass out of here, Jack Perry.
He was already gone.
Yeah, he's already gone. Yeah, Mark Briscoe. I mean, hey, yeah, like I said, it's venturing on Santino and stuff, but like, I don't want it every week. But if we get the occasional, out of nowhere, we need Mark Perry shocks us back into the moment. I'm here for it.
Yeah. So Mark Briscoe cuts that promo, and then Kyle O'Reilly says, "I'll follow that man anywhere," and follows him. Dante Martin's like, "Cool." And Orange Cassidy is Orange Cassidy, right? So then we get to the match. As mentioned, we've got one side of the team on one side of the ring, and they are taking on Roderick Strong, Zack Sabre Jr., and Don Callis family members, Kyle Fletcher, and Takeshita. And this is what I'll say. At least I'll get your feedback on it. But my 2 cents is AEW does multi-person tag team matches really, really well. Probably better than most. But that's fine. Like,
yeah.
What'd you think?
Zack Sabre Jr. weirds me out, man. Doesn't he look like a Wall Street investment banker? Put on some wrestling gear and started throwing people around. It's an interesting. I don't know. He just kind of trips me out, and I can't get past it sometimes. And yeah, this.
Yeah. I saw a picture of him wearing glasses, and he looked like he was about to testify against John Gotti. It was weird. Like, what the fuck was this guy doing?
Seriously. No, it looks like he's got like 2 yachts, and he's telling you about how to like diversify your latest, portfolio. And it's like, shut the fuck up, man. Yeah. Anyway, but this is what it is. This is part of, they're playing to the audience here, and a lot of folks like this wrestling style, right? And we got a lot of it at once.
Yeah, I get that we said all-star 8-man tag, but one thing that we used to applaud AEW on is why would just random baby faces team up against random heels? And this kind of went into that, where why would Roderick Strong team with Kyle Fletcher?
So here's the thing. So Andrew Openshaw says they've really been hitting with these all-star 4-on-4 matches. They should pick up the Survivor Series matches that WWE gave up on. So if you went with the like Eliminator style, like you're teaming up because you're trying to win cash prize or whatever, and you have to be left, right? Like it's you know what I mean? You have to be one of the survivors left in the match or something. Now, why is it always assholes with assholes and nice guys with nice guys? I mean, to some extent, I guess birds of a feather, but you can get some strange bedfellows in there with some of that.
Yeah, if you were to do that, I would challenge AEW to do that. For example, MJF right now is a babyface, right? Babyface. But if he really wants to win, why would he not pick Wardlow, right? Why would he not pick Samoa Joe?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so...
Well, MJF used to be that. He would say like, hey, we don't like each other, but...
Right.
Money? Like, let's go
And so, yeah, if they do those kind of matches, I would challenge them to make... Because that was one thing I actually did like about the brand matches that WWE would do. It would be heels and, SmackDown and Raw. And SmackDown might have, Randy Orton and Shawn Michaels.
Well, and it helps storylines there. These guys don't like each other. How are they gonna bring home the win for SmackDown, which was meaningless, but whatever,
Right. Yeah. Well, that's again where the payoff. Yeah, you got to think that through. But yeah, with this, this was fun. This is not where last week I was criticizing them, for example, of like, you had a match, but we all know who was going to win. I didn't necessarily know what the outcome was going to be. So at least it kept my interest in that regard, because you could have went so many different ways, right? Takeshita looks strong. Zack Sabre Jr. looks strong. Mark Briscoe, whatever it may be. So I did like that. It was like, well, where were we going to go with this? So that did keep my interest, but not a ton happened after the match. Jack Perry took out Dante Martin. Okay. Mark Briscoe and Takeshita fought. Sure. And then Orange Cassidy and Zack Sabre Jr. I don't know. Exchanged 401ks. I don't know what they did. And they did that thing. Now, as you mentioned, Don Callis
made brunch plans.
Yeah, right. Where's the best mimosa? Don Callis, we see backstage. Roosh, for whatever reason, is in a multicolored locker room. Don't know why that's ever been the case in wrestling.
Well,
never seen
Eagle Bank Arenas.
Yeah, the Eagle Bank and the granddaddy of them all.
Pennsylvania,
Fairfax, Virginia.
Fairfax, same
Virginia.
Thing.
Yeah.
Same.
But Roosh is sitting
Pennsylvania, right? Something like that.
Yeah. Roosh is sitting there, counting his losses, and Don Callis says something into the effect of always recruiting, right? I think that's what Excalibur told us. What?
I think somebody called it out here. I think it was Andrew in the chat. Rouge is the hired assassin that'll take out old Bruv and allow
Will
Swerve
Ospreay.
to. Yeah, he'll take out Will Ospreay on behalf of Callis because slice your throat, fuck you, right?
Okay. And I get that, and I'm cool with that. However, I'm old enough to remember. Don't you love when people say that? I'm old enough to remember that Roosh has his own group. Isn't it LFI or whatever?
Fuck them. Yeah, they suck.
But 10 is in there,
Well, it doesn't
right?
need a group. It's just an opportunity. It's money. And here's what you don't like this guy, right? Go fucking get him, right? I don't know if he doesn't like him or not, but Andrew does say Zack Sabre Jr. looks like Guile from Street Fighter without the muscles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you got a blow up Guile and then you deflated it, and that's what it would look like.
It's Wagovi Guile. All right.
Yeah. So what do we got going on here? Then we get into some surprising news. We get an AEW World Tag Team Championship Eliminator match, which means if you win, then you get a shot at the actual championships. So the EVPs come out. They're doing their fun shtick thing.
Yeah, what was their phrasing that she came in? It was like they're wearing bright colors or something.
Yeah, to match their shoes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, to match the Reeboks.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then you get the Acclaimed and Max Caster's trying to do his rap. Oh, no. Okada hit the wrong button. Bitches.
Love it.
Here's what you're doing, though. This is a little bit of like fun, but now what happens? Because, if we're getting serious here for a minute, brother, the point of a heel is I don't fucking like that guy.
Yeah, but
we're
now I like this.
to like the Acclaim.
Yeah.
I kind of liked what he did to him. Now, again, I do like the Acclaim, but you're making the Acclaim look like dum-dums by just getting fucked with and not really do anything to Okada.
Yeah. When there's a time where, yes, we like Acclaimed, right? And we like the shtick. We like the making fun of people in the raps, and we like the being silly and jumping around. We like scissoring. But if we're going to take them like this next level, like contenders, we're really behind these guys, they've got to know like that when now it's time for them to do something cool, pushing the envelope to get over on these guys, right? Like, and not just be like, oh shucks, the fucking heels stopped our music, now we're gonna beat them up. Like, no, they got to go back there, find them, start giving these fucks some wedgies or some swirlies, right? Like whatever the pro wrestling equivalent is, and make them look cool again. Give them the cool factor again.
I think what I would have done, and again, you didn't want to get too far into it because then you get into maybe a Pandora's box thing, but you could do all the same things, right? With Okada doing the fake cry and then goes bitches, and then just have Billy Gunn stand behind him and is like, I think you do need to hit that button. And Okada looks and is like, shit. You know, and then
or next week, let's do that. Yeah, something.
Yeah, and then security can like, hey, these two can't fight, because you don't want to look Okada to look stupid. But yeah, have Billy Gunn be like, no, it's A3. Hit that one right there.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
or even that or he's like, oh, I hit the wrong button, and like the door kicks open and just Billy Gunn comes running with the chair or something. He's like, fuck, and he runs out. Yeah. Then you can just have Billy Gunn push the button and be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, then run after him again. Something. Yeah. Let's get them that's what I mean. Let's get them the upper hand again a little bit so they don't look like they're just chumps, right?
Exactly. But we get this match and back and forth. Again, not to say this to minimize it, but kind of a copy paste AEW tag team match in the best way possible.
Sure.
And God damn it, Tim, the Acclaim beat the EVPs. What do you think of that?
Yeah, again, look, as tag teams go, I think these are two of the more established tag teams that we have in active tag teaming right now. So, I mean, that's fine, right? There's both some champs, right, at one point or another. So, fine. I don't know that Acclaimed are going to take the titles off of them. So I'm not sold yet that because they got this victory that it's the Acclaim's time again. So unless unless we're doing something with the Young Bucks where like somebody has to divert their attention, right? But I don't think so. I think we already did the Acclaimed as champs run, so I still don't think this is leading anywhere in that regard. But I think this is just to allow us to run the match back, right? Let's do it.
Yeah, I think this is what that's leading to is at Forbidden Door or whatever it is. Again, they still do those specialty AEW Dynamites, so maybe one of those kind of things, commercial free. They could do that, right, with this tag match.
Yep.
But I did think it was interesting that it was clean. There were no shenanigans that the Acclaimed pulled to get the victory, right? They just straight up beat them. So I thought that was interesting. And then post-match, Billy Gunn runs in. They're celebrating. Hey, 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 ho, ho, ho. Let's move on to the next town.
I say him, you say how.
Say ho, hey.
Andrew Openshaw says, oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, he was saying, Andrew Openshaw says, say what you want about the Bucks, but they've never had an issue helping others look good or get over. That's true.
Oh, yeah. Again, I've always complimented their ability to be like non-Hulk Hogan like, right? Like if you recall the first tournament, they lost to Private Party to become the AEW champs, right? So of course, right? All's good. Again, if you go back to any of the times I used to call them the young cunts, which so is Max Caster. He listens to the podcast. Obviously, I was the first one doing that like 8 years ago.
Probably 8 years ago.
Yeah. I rejected the notion at the time of them calling themselves the best tag team when they had no TV time restraints. Fucking of course, I could have not saying but like a wrestler could have a great match if you say, do whatever you want, fuck you. But if you have a 15-minute match you got to get in because of commercial breaks, that's where you prove your worth. I digress. I get into another side quest though. You were talking about the hip, hip, ho, ho kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I love early gangster rap because they were still figuring it out and it makes me laugh every time. You would get Dr. Dre to be like 1, 2, 3 into the 4 and then be like, I shot my mom and like, what? Weren't you like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like they would just mix in these things. I deal drugs, but I break dance. And it's like, what the fuck is happening with these songs? I love early.
It was like zip to the beat.
Yeah,
give me all your fucking money. It was just like, wait a minute, what?
What the fuck is this? Yeah, they're figuring it out. That's what the most fun about that era of music was.
Andrew Openshaw's attributing the Young Bucks Hogan's phrase is that works for us, brother. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Which we would hear that later.
It says that works for us, brother.
Yeah,
it's good.
Well, we hear that phrase a little bit later, which we'll get to. That actually might be a shirt, but. Before we get there, Samoa Joe and Hook are backstage, and they're like, guess what? We're going to fuck these guys up one more time, and I want you to go really wild with it.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe says to Hook, be extra. And so, Hook is like, all right. And so they open up the door. Hook says, go time!
Doom time! Hey, he's being extra, man.
Yeah, and he was like, so we're gonna fist fight him next week, okay? And Hook's like, yeah, good. And then Shibata says, I'm gonna smash them bitches. Here's one thing that I would caution AEW on. Let's not have all the foreign wrestlers say bitches, right? We got Okada saying it, now we got Shibata saying it. If Takeshita starts saying it, it's like, hey, it's not like just easy on that, but it was fun, right?
Yeah.
Shibata, the best camera guy in pro wrestling, apparently.
I like that these all start with something too. I don't even remember like what they were conversing on this one. I forget.
This one was, So last week was Samoa Joe talking about lacrosse. And Hook was
and then there was the Taz question about wearing orange on one of them, right? Yeah.
And then this one was, so where's the best place to eat?
That's right.
And Hook says, like, right by me. He's like, you should never say that. You should always say it's somewhere else because then everyone's going to move to your town. So you got to say it's somewhere else.
New Yorkers. He's like, yo, that's the best spot.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Okay.
Yeah,
so
then he said, he's like, doom time, brother, on the way out. And
goon.
He was like, what?
No, he said goon. He said
goon
like
time.
we're goons.
Yeah, he's
goon,
like, goon
time.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was like, what? He's like, you said be extra. And he's like, we're going to workshop that.
Okay? Yeah, I'm trying, all right?
Yeah.
So we go from there back into the ring, but this time it's for a contract signing And we have Mariah May standing in the middle of the ring with the table in front of her. And she introduces both Mina Shirakawa and Timeless Tony Storm. Now, we're getting some fun stuff. Mina, though, straight up just tells Tony, shut up. Or no, she says,
to.
Mariah, shut up. And then
Yeah.
Tony and Stardom, all this stuff. Then Tony says, don't you raise your voice at her again. And then Mina says, Mariah, you got to pick between us.
Yeah, pick one.
Pick one. And oh, Mariah, she's, oh, what shall I do? They both signed the contract. And before we get any farther on what will Mariah do, Saraya and her BFF, can't remember, Harley Cameron, they walk down to the ring and they're like, fuck you too. And I get this. Saraya has history with Tony Storm, is just jealous of not having the moment. Totally get it. But then they say, we didn't come alone. And Anna Jay, which I thought was a baby face, now I guess is back to being a heel, attacks Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Through the whole rigmarole of all of this, Tony Storm throws her ass into a table, and we go up to the top of the ramp, and Mina Shirakawa has Mariah May attached to her bosom. That's how we end the segment. So what do you think about all this stuff?
Yeah, so I think that whole run-in is the setup. They're going to, it'll be a 3-on-3 next week, right, for the go-home, and then we'll have all the, the love triangle going on while they're in that, 3-on-3, right? That's what'll happen there. Honestly, out of this, look, the story's been built up so good that I think we witnessed Tony Storm was sort of the least best performer in this, right? I think her promo didn't have much to say, right? Other than the, don't fucking yell at her. Everything else was just kind of like filler and was like, watch for the shoe. And I was like, Mina stuff was like fire, where she was like, hey, I mean, it took a little while to get there. Obviously, there's language things, but it was like, everybody loves me, right? Everybody says they want Mina. Nobody wants you, which is not true, right? I mean, everybody loves Tony Storm, but yeah, I thought all of that was good. And I like now it was like, but Mina's been the one where she's just been like, everything's great, everything's fine. But now she's like, hey, fucking choose. Right? And that's a nice little twist, right? It wasn't Tony Storm that finally lost it, right? Tony Storm's been accepting largely of this weird, extra person hanging around to some extent, right? I don't think she likes her, but she hasn't told her, stay away or anything like that. So, interesting. I do like all the subtleties of sort of how this is all ingrained.
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, I think Tony just had one thing to say, and that was, don't raise your voice to Mariah May.
Yeah.
Right. Mina went to in Stardom, went kind of like a history lesson on Tony Storm, which some people are doing a little bit too much, right? Because we had the Virtuosa talk about tattoos and shit. You know what I mean?
Swerve loves to talk about, where they've, he talks to almost every person he's faced. He's like, oh, I've known you from whatever. We talk a lot in AW about where we've been, right? Yeah,
but I'm saying with Tony Storm, it seems like the only retort from the other person has just been, I know who you were.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great, right? But Tony Storm isn't necessarily digging into anyone other than you suck, right? So I think maybe we need to turn that into something, right? With that being said, I think she just had one note to say. The thing that I think is interesting about this whole dynamic is what you described is it feels as if with Tony Storm, her relationship to Mariah May is mother-daughter, right? Where, of course, your daughter, right, would have friends, so you wouldn't be necessarily jealous of that. You would just be like, as long as she knows that, she comes to me for everything, then we're good. Where Mina is coming out at this, it feels like, is, no, we're BFFs, and if someone gets in between this, fuck that other person, right? And so that's why I think, as you mentioned, Tony Storm has been kind of I don't like it, but if she wants to do it, I guess that's cool with me. Where Mina's like, no. We hold hands, we dance to weird music, we wear clothes that look like we're 10. That's what we fucking do. And Mariah May is like, what the fuck do I do? Right?
That's what people love in Japan, right?
It's so weird. It is so weird. I I want to go to Tokyo really, really bad. I want to go see the Tokyo Dome. I want to go see, there's a Pride Museum. I'm huge into sumo. I want to go see some of the sumo matches in person. But this whole fucking thing where 30-year-old women are like, hee hee, and doing all this, like, I'm a little baby. Look at my sucker or whatever. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, I don't need none of that.
No. Hate that shit.
Nope.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think we're going to do a 3-on-3 tag match with Mariah May stuck in the middle. Anna Jay most likely gets the pinfall, and then we move it, keep it moving.
Stuck in the middle.
Hey, then we go to the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament quarterfinal match.
Nailed it.
Just like you do. And it is Saturday night. I do
Saturday
like that.
night.
Saturday
Every
night,
night is Saturday night.
That's a good thing that can catch on.
Yes.
Stokely Hathaway, again, just kills it. She wins
The
here.
lifting of him one step.
Oh, yeah.
The steps.
Yeah.
And then Taz was like, I don't like very many short people myself. And Tony Schiavone was like, yeah, I hear you, brother. We're all right there with you.
Yeah.
This rivalry they've started, man. Tony Schiavone and Taz shit-talking each other is so great.
Yeah, it is very fun. So Statlander advances, and then Stokely gets on the microphone and talks about how if Willow wants to show up, Stokely's gonna, or no, what was it here? Oh, Statlander's gonna bust her ass and make her walk crazier than Justin Timberlake did, which he just got a DUI.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. Again, pop culture things in there, love it all
He's
the time.
best. So
Yeah.
good. Saturday night, baby. I love that.
Willow appears, and basically she's like, hey, when I win, then I get to face you next, and I'm gonna kick your ass. And then I get one step closer to Wembley. Neat. And Tim, so far we got, I kind of shit talked that, but it was a good segment, right? But we got good momentum right from the jump. MJF to Roosh all the way up to here with Willow saying, I'm the boogie woman and I'm coming for you, Statlander. You better watch your ass. Love it. We're going. And then just like a fucking emergency brake being pulled on a car going 65, we get Chris Jericho in Private Party. This shit is stupid. It's dumb. It's boring. I don't like it.
So,
Don't like it.
again, if Chris Jericho, if I could have a conversation, right? Like if I was sitting there with him, I'd say like, when you caught wind that people were like, Jesus Christ, Jericho, go away, whatever, people get sucked in the vortex, and you thought I could play into that and make something of it. You were right. But you went cheesy, over the top, instead of like subtle, trying to use this to like better yourself backstage in a conniving way, right? To where like we also hate it, right? Like he was like, oh yeah, and grabbed the pants, started hitting everybody over the head with it, right? Like dang, 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 and it sucks now. It's real bad. And what is this where, all right, again, I'm going into kayfabe world here, right? We're going into kayfabe world, and he says, you know, back when I was a lucha superstar or whatever, there was this dangerous move that is called the pile driver, right? And he's like, it's so dangerous that when anybody wanted to do it to me, I would say, no thanks, and not do it. Like, wait a minute. Like, you didn't have a choice in the matter, right? Like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, this was a person trying to do a move to you that you had to fight off of, right? Like, you're not agreeing to do it, right, Chris? Like, I don't know. It was lost on me. I think there was one week where we thought like, all right, that's kind of funny. And then it's all lost from there. It's been bad ever since.
I just think the unfortunate part for this is that Chris Jericho is a legitimate all-time great, right? You said at one point he might be in your top 10, all of that. The more you show up, the less you feel special.
You're knocking down that list. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going down, yeah.
Wouldn't you love, this is where if I had a conversation with him, I would say, wouldn't you love that when we have a moment of kind of down for the main event picture, let's just hypothetically say Swerve gets past Osprey, they do the rematch at Wembley, Swerve wins again because then Osprey goes to do something with the Don Callis family, right? The next thing for Swerve, because let's say if we're breaking kayfabe here, in the back, we know that Hangman's going to be back in October, right? Let's just say that. If you would have been gone for the last 8 months, 9 months, you could drop in, be a big time. Hey, guess who started all this shit? It's Chris motherfucking Jericho. It would feel special. Then Swerve could get a victory over you. Then that makes Swerve look like a more strong champion. And then you got a bigger pop instead of hanging out on Rampage, waving at the fucking camera with people looking at their phones. Like, it's just bullshit, man.
Andrew Openshaw says Bill and Keith are the best parts about this. Just remove Jericho. I don't even hate the idea of, if Big Bill was going around with a little, like, kind of what he did there, where, like, I'm going to positively tell you how I know you fucked up, right? And, like, you don't realize that you're about to get your ass kicked, and we're going to do it with a smile, right? And then he's sitting there being like, fucking, you know what I mean? Like, just that little kind of, like, oddball pairing. But, yeah, I could miss me with Jericho even being involved in it at all, right? If Jericho thinks he needs to give these people material, then right behind the scenes, right? Like, give people jokes or whatever it is, fine. But, yeah, I'm done with the way overplaying of the, hey, guys! Like, we need it. It's grating.
I don't like, I would get behind more so the idea of what you just described, a tag team with Big Bill and Brian Keith, and we do that dynamic. However, current iteration, I don't like any of them. I don't like Brian Keith at the end coming in going, Jericho.
Respect Chris Jericho. Like,
shut up. It was cool once, right?
Yeah.
That was fun, right? That baby better respect Chris Jericho. Okay, right? But now it's
that is part of the Jericho cycle. That got a pop, run it back until it stops. Until it stops. Let's do this real quick. A Cool Cam jumps in the chat. He says, who wins the women's Owen tournament? We were briefly talking about that. You know, the brackets up top of your head here on the left side, you got Willow versus Serena and Nyla versus Chris Statlander, which we saw, right? And so we know Statlander wins that. Then on the right side, you got Deonna Purrazzo taking on Hikaru Shida. And then you got Mariah May taking on Saraya.
Oh, it's Mariah May wins all of it.
You think Mariah May wins all of it?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Because this is going to be Willow versus Statlander, right? So one of those wins. Who do you think's facing Mariah May then, and why is it not? Because I feel like it's the winner of that. Unless they cost them, yeah.
Right. Well, this is my guess. Is Mariah May wins the right side as you described. She's in the final.
Yep.
Then you get Statlander, Willow. Willow beats Statlander. Then you get the final. Willow versus Mariah May. Willow tries to be the first 2-time Owen Hart women's champion, right? Like that. Get all the balloons. Right, all celebrate. And Stokely does something. Statlander hits her with her finisher. Mariah May
Saturday night special.
Yep. Mariah May gets the win. And then, oops, oh no. I guess I gotta face Toni Storm. Isn't that crazy? It's kind of like I had planned this the entire time, right? That's what so I think it's Mariah May.
Yeah, a smarter person would have been planning this the whole time, but not dumb old me. Good man.
But
if she's like a genius mastermind and flips that switch after all this, it would be so great.
Going back to our conversation last week, the idea where if Mina cost Toni Storm her title against Mariah May to get Mariah back, and Mariah's like, Mina, I didn't even like you.
Yeah.
And then like both of them are like, and then Mariah May is like, look at these fucking idiots. They thought I was learning from them. They were learning everything from me. And this is their last lesson, dummies. And then, and then again, the last part of that is you send timeless Toni Storm into a new decade.
Another era. She's got to be 80s Toni Storm or something after this.
Wendy Richter, you son of a bitch. Oh, that would be one.
That almost has to be the final one of the timeless, right? Like we've got to
Well, but she keeps it, right? So let's say she goes to the 50s. She still hates Wendy Richter.
Oh, yeah,
right?
exactly. Right. That's what I mean. Like the final quantum leap is the 80s one so that we can get the Wendy Richter payoff. But Yeah, we need 50. Well, so yeah, whatever it is, like we're gonna get an old West Tony Storm out of this. We've got to get like a revolutionary Tony Storm. We gotta get them all. Gotta get them all.
I mean, she's 62. Wendy Richter. I bet you we could get one match. I bet you we could get one
Andrew
match.
Openshaw says if you go back and look at Mariah's mannerisms and acting behind Tony, she has been up to something the whole time, and it plays into why Luther doesn't like her.
But again, the last thing is if Luther sides with Mariah.
That's what I mean. If we could get both of them to suddenly not be like goofy and like, oh, I don't speak, but they're just like straight, but they were like, you guys are dumbasses. Like we worked you over, like, you know what I mean? Like, and they're suddenly just like we just fucking scammed you the whole time. You know what I mean? Like that would be interesting. That would be interesting.
I like it.
We knew you two were out of your fucking minds, so we just acted like we were out of our fucking minds, and you gave us the keys to everything. We stole everything from you, right? Like took off with your fucking trust funds, your money, I got everything. Fuck you.
Got it all. All right, so we get back in the ring, and we get a quick match here. Daniel Garcia beats Rhett Titus. Again, we get Matt Menard on the broad. We have to explain why he's the only one who accompanies a wrestler that just automatically gets to call the match.
Call the match.
No one else does
right.
this. Harley Cameron doesn't when Saraya wrestles.
Yeah,
like, I don't get
right.
it. Like, it's starting to get weird.
And just look, I like Daniel Garcia, and we've said if we're bringing in these randoms and we're telling them like you're going up against, we're the best wrestler. Well, some of these guys got to get worked. But I didn't expect Daniel Garcia squash match, right? Like that was out of nowhere. But hey, I'll take it. It's fine.
Yeah. And after the match, Gates of Agony beat up on Matt Menard. And then that brings out MJF because in the history of MJF's character, he has said, like, Daniel Garcia, I respect you. Because I believe he actually got an opportunity to wrestle MJF when he was champ and came up short. So there's been like this, hey, we respect each other kind of thing. So MJF is clearing house. And then the rest of the cage of, what do we call them? Gates of Agony, Cage of Agony, whatever the fuck they're called. They come out. They beat up on MJF.
There's a lot of agony involved.
Yeah. Which brings out Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay takes out the other two. And then we get the back-to-back and we get this face-off of Will Ospreay and MJF. How'd you feel about the first face-off between Ospreay and MJF?
The face-off, cool. I don't get why Will Ospreay was playing the John Cena police officer of the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, fine. It's better than manufacturing something if you don't got it, I guess, right? So fine. Yeah. I mean, that's got to come to a head at some point, right? Will Ospreay and MJF have to face off. It's kind of like we have got to do with the Swerve thing. So I like that we're not, forcing something right away, right? We're just kind of, we got this moment in time, right?
Well, what I like the most about the entire segment is, we got all of this to get the face-off of Ospreay and MJF. But the real cool moment, for me at least, was after all of that, Ospreay goes to help Garcia up, and Garcia is just staring at his title. It's like, hey, thanks, pal, but what's that in your hand? And so now we don't, because the thing that sometimes, at least in WWE, this happened a lot, is person X gets saved and it's to build something else. And we just completely just push that person out of the picture because it was always these two, right? At least Daniel Garcia got something out of the end of it, right?
We don't just forget about him, right? Yeah.
So, because, we talked about our picks, right? And, a little bit later, Brian Cage and Ospreay have a little tear apart backstage, and they're going to wrestle, I think, on Collision for the championship.
Yeah.
Here's my question. Do you think the Don Callis family or the Gates of Agony cost Ospreay his international championship against Daniel Garcia before Forbidden Door? So it's 10 days away. So it would have to happen pretty quick, but you could have Ospreay beat Cage Wednesday on Dynamite. It's Ospreay versus Garcia. Gates of Agony cost him that thing. Tim, I booked it right here. Boom, motherfucker. God, big brain right here. Big fucking brain. You want to hear this? This is how it happens.
Yeah.
So, Collision. You have Cage versus Osprey. Osprey wins. Wednesday, we do International Championship, right? That's the one he has. International Championship. Osprey versus Garcia. Gates of Agony cost Osprey the championship.
Yep. And then we get
right?
international champion. We get the dance.
International champion Daniel Garcia. But then it goes into more intrigue because, like I said, when it goes champ versus champ, the heavyweight champ doesn't lose his title, right? Like you rarely get the double champ, right? So you go into that. Swerve as the champ. Osprey now is pissed because he has no championships and so he 100% wants to be the heavyweight champion, right? At the pay-per-view, Forbidden Door, you get Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony kind of going out there towards the end of the match going like, oh, Osprey, we're going to cost you this match too. Don Callis says, no. Brings out his family. Gates of Agony, you get the fuck out of here.
Roosh, right? The opportunity.
Hold on. Don Callis says, family, go get Gates of Agony. So they all fight each other and then they move away. And then that brings in Roosh to then cost Osprey the match. And then Don Callis goes, you motherfucker, I want you to know I did this to you. It wasn't Gates of Agony. It wasn't any of these other motherfuckers. It was me.
Yeah, I even cleared them out of the way to make sure
that's what I'm saying.
Do this to you.
Make sure I did it. Brian Cage ain't getting this fucking credit. It's me. And that's why he did it in the first place. Book it.
Love it. I like the idea. More Don Callis. I'm here for it. Less people with Don Callis, but more Don Callis.
Yeah. More focused. I mean, the best Don Callis that I've enjoyed in AEW was when he was just with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega had the Young Bucks as his friends, but it was Don Callis with Kenny Omega. Oh, by the way, we got the two bald. What's their fucking names? They went to WWE. The bald guys that were in Bullet Club.
The motorcycle mechanics.
What the fuck is their names?
Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah,
Festus.
There it is. Festus. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
They were there, but it was still just Don Callis with Kenny Omega. That's what I like the best.
Right.
Okay, so we get to the main event, and it's the Owen Hart Foundation.
These guys love them some weird dye.
They're the worst.
Yeah.
They're the worst. Remember when I said that on Twitter? I was like, you're the worst. Carl Anderson's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, you are. And everyone fucking exploded. I was like, I don't care what you say. You're the fucking worst. You're very bad. You're not entertaining. You're an understudy. Anyhow, we get the Owen Hart Foundation men's tournament quarter final match.
Nailed it.
We have Claudio Castagnoli versus Pac. Isn't that fun? All those words I said, and the last one is just Pac. Brian Danielson is on commentary. He does really good at this. Like, do you see how good these guys are?
Here he's doing commentary for a guy who comes to the ring with.
Oh, I guess I didn't catch that. But isn't Brian Danielson also in the Owen Hart Foundation men's tournament?
Yeah. Oh, he is. Tournament. Yeah. I kind of like the idea of like managers or valets or whatever just always being able to join in at commentary if they want when it's ringside. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'll be like, no, fuck it, I'm gonna sit here and talk to you guys. Sometimes I'm like, no, I'm gonna be over here focused on the match, right? Like, let's throw it in.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. I mean, obviously they're BCC, but I thought of it more as Brian Danielson scouting both guys kind of thing. Yeah, because
but the one with Menard but they're not like a faction, right? Like they're just friends. And that's what's weird is like he doesn't come out like even with him. He's just there on commentary, like when he's wrestling. It's weird.
And they're just continuing. Yeah, it's anyhow. Yeah.
But Claudio, I liked his little vignette earlier where he said, "Pac, like, let's not do this for you. Let's not do this for me. Let's not do this for he's like, let's do this for wrestling." He's like, we're gonna go out here and fucking just wrestle fuck this thing all to.
Yeah, wrestle fuck. By the way. Do you have the men's tournament matches?
Let's look it up.
Because, am I wrong? Did I see that Jeff Jarrett is in this motherfucker? Is he?
Jeff Jarrett is in this motherfucker. Yes.
Well, then here's the thing. And you know my feelings about Jeff Jarrett. If anyone's listened long enough, you know my feelings about Jeff Jarrett. But I will say this. Have him win it. They were tag teaming at the time Owen passed. If anyone's the Owen Hart fucking
Yeah, well, so they
loves him
mentioned
so
it. They were
much.
like, they said, hey, this is a big deal for Jeff Jarrett. He was big time. So and that makes sense. We shit on Jeff Jarrett, and you know what I mean.
Deservingly so. But
Given
look, he
what
could
this
still have a
is,
big-
of course,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Given what this is, of course, like, I'm not going to hate that Jeff Jarrett's in this tournament. He is facing wild card. So I think he's there to get his ass beat by fill in the blank. Do you know who this might be? Who might be showing up as a surprise entrant? I don't have an idea yet, but I think that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a wild card debut either shortly before or the night of, right? Unless somebody wins a wild card, and I'm not understanding, and they've already addressed this, right? But I think he's there to lose that match, right?
Yeah, or is it John Moxley because he is Wild Thing? I don't know. That's what.
Yeah, I don't know. So Ray Phoenix and Jay White are on that side, and Jeff Jarrett versus the winner of wild card will, those will face off, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like that's Jay White on that side, or the
Jay
wild
White
card,
who?
depending on who it is. It's Ray Phoenix versus Jay White, and then Jeff
Jay
Jarrett
White
versus
wins.
wild card.
Jeff Jarrett wins.
Jeff Jarrett wins versus wild card.
Why not? Yeah.
I mean, unless it's like surprise new signing that they're trying to push or something, right? Or
My thought is it's New Japan guy or CMLL guy, right?
yeah,
we're
well, they
doing
have
Forbidden
so
Door
they have
stuff.
on the other side they've got Shingo Takagi, nailed it,
Yeah,
versus Bryan Danielson, right? And
Okay.
then he'll face Pac won this one, right? Versus Claudio.
Yep.
Castagnoli. Yeah. So
So then there's the CMLL guy. CMLL guy faces
Okay.
Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett wins because I would have Jeff Jarrett win the whole fucking thing. Now, here's where that sucks though, is because now this year that
It's Shane
person
McMahon.
gets
it's going to be Shane McMahon.
Shane versus Jeff Jarrett would totally make sense. Yeah,
It's going to be Shane fucking McMahon. God damn it!
I don't like that idea.
I don't like it either. I'm gonna.
Oh, I do
Let's
actually. If he
rewind.
fucking well, no, if he fucking rips his quad again, God, that would make me so happy. I would just, that would just make me feel the best.
While he's doing the dance.
Yeah. Hey, boom, and Jeff's like, God damn it, really? Hits him
Both
with the
of
guitar while he's on the ground. Yeah. No, Jeff can't win because this year the winner gets to face the champion. In previous years, it was just Owen Hart. Hey,
Right.
isn't this
Here's a
great?
fake belt. Yeah.
Yeah, this one. So it has to be Danielson. Danielson,
be.
Jay White.
It might
It's
be.
going to be Danielson, Jay White in the final because we love that. Again, another fun thing where you could do BCC and gold member elite
Oh.
club fight on the
It's gonna be
outside.
Shane McMahon. He's going to win the whole thing. What was that match where he wrestled where it was like the best? What was that? He wrestled against somebody where it was like some title of like being the greatest of something on the line. Right?
Oh, it was
I
that
forget what the fuck-
tournament in Saudi Arabia. The greatest
Yeah, that's right. It was the-
wrestler. Yeah. Yeah, and he just
That's
threw
right.
himself in there at the very end. He's like, it's
Yes.
me. He beat Dolph, right? Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck was that? It was like greatest of all time or something,
Yeah.
right? Like it was like a fucking.
Yeah.
I now I want it to be Shane McMahon. No, I
No.
don't want him anywhere near. But Jesus Christ, yeah, I think you're right. I think this might be the Danielson, right? And then we get him, in a match.
Best in the world.
Yeah.
He was the
Mhm.
best in the world.
Well, and Owen Hart was one of the guys he like looked up to, right? I think trying to like.
I mean,
come around.
probably.
I think I read that in his
he-
book, right? Didn't he mention that?
I mean, yeah. This is not me trying to minimize anyone's relationship with Owen Hart, but it kind of feels like the Eddie Guerrero thing where it was like,
Mhm.
if I was around, then he was my favorite. And wasn't he
Yeah.
great? And I loved him too. It's like, well,
Yeah.
did you though?
Yeah.
Or did you just like sit next to him one time
Yeah.
during a catering, eating time, right? Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
the
yeah.
fuck? Yeah. So, Pac wins, stares down Danielson. Danielson stares down Pac. So yeah, we'll do Danielson, Pac, right? Danielson, Pac
Yep.
will fucking rule.
And you're thinking Jarrett versus
Jarrett, Jay White.
Jay White. Then we get
Yep,
Jay White,
Jay
Danielson.
White. Jay White, Danielson.
Nigel McGuinness will
And
be
win.
commentating, shitting on.
By the way, did you hear the fucking line that he said at Collision?
yes.
Where he said he's been
Yeah,
a
he was like,
vegan.
he quits everything. He never sticks with anything. He's like, he used to be vegan. He gave that up too because he couldn't stop eating brie. Love that. God, he's so good.
What's the cheese?
I know. Yeah, cheese. Yeah,
What else are we talking about?
right.
Oh, his wife. With that being said, that was Dynamite. And we had a great old time. Collision this Saturday night. And we're rocking and rolling towards Forbidden Door. So hopefully we get past that soon so we can get back on track with our stories. Again, I don't hate that these matches happen. It's fun. It's fine. Woo! But it derails from the stories. And that's what I don't like.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Well, then we'll want to make sure that before you leave and come back next week, everybody check out the AllEliteWrapup.com.
Come on.
And look for all the links there, right? Send us an email, do all that kind of fun stuff. There's some donate links there if you're feeling friendly, right? If you want to send us a few bones, right? We could take some dollars, right? Whatever the kids call it these days. And just to make sure that you stay in a happy mood and looking forward to next week, I want to remind you that we called it here first. Shane McMahon wins the Owen Hart tournament.